What's up, guys? We're going to create some podcasting designs today. I'm just going to kind of take you through the process here slowly, and hopefully we'll make some cool ones. And these actually will be available for download afterwards. So keep a lookout for those. And so let's jump on in and start making some fun designs here. I think I'm going to start by making a mic. So we'll just walk through that process step by step here. So you can kind of get an idea of behind the scenes. Some designs take a little bit longer, sometimes take a little bit shorter, but you just kind of tinker around and find something that we like and hopefully make something cool. So if you're working in Illustrator, almost everything is shape-based. So you're going to always start with some shapes, try to get some basic breakdowns of the objects you're looking to create with just shapes and combining those and creating different things that are kind of fun and a little bit different to do. So we've got our basic shape of our podcasting mic there. And we want it to have some rounded corners. So we're going to go ahead and just grab that. We can pull them all in at once and get ourselves a basic shape. There we go. And so next, we're going to divide this guy up. Start creating our shapes a little bit more. We're going to grab and create a stroke around this. So you guys can kind of get an idea of the basic workflow here. And so I'm going to go ahead and divide this guy up so we can kind of see what we're doing a little bit more. So we're just cutting out that bottom portion there. And we'll go ahead and make this just the circle there. And we're going to duplicate that and put it on top. Slide her down. And we're going to use this shape the whole way down to kind of keep that consistent line shape the whole way down. Let's go ahead and create the bottom of the mic. It's looking pretty good so far. And we're going to try to make this one like a 3D looking mic, at least on a little bit of a tilt, like it's standing on its actual stand here. But we'll wait to do that here in a moment. Okay. Looking pretty good. Gonna start adding probably the framing, but before we tilt it, we'll actually add the lines for this. So when you're creating lines, you can actually, like we want to get the actual lines under the mic up here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a line with our pen tool. Make it pretty long. And we want to go ahead and adjust the thickness to something we'd actually want to use. So that's looking pretty good. We can adjust these afterwards. We drag it across to the other side. And we can go ahead and select those two objects. And we can go to Object. We're going to go down to Blend. And we're going to go Make. Back up to Objects. Back down to Blend. And we're going to go to Blend Options. I like to go to specific steps. And we can adjust how many iterations are between those two objects. So let's start with on the low end. And you can immediately kind of see how that looks. Let's go give it a few more. Still not quite the spacing I'm looking for, maybe 10. All right, we're getting closer. And we can get, like I said, we can adjust this afterwards pretty easily. That's what's nice thing about this is you can quickly jump back and kind of do the visual adjustments as you go. And I'm gonna go and duplicate that object. Again, add it to the front. And we're just gonna rotate her. And so we kind of have a grid pattern there. So we have a better idea what we're looking at. We're going to go ahead and turn those to white. Let's go somewhere in between so we can still see. And we're going to go ahead and rotate both of those at the same time here. And I think I want my lines a little bit smaller. And let's up the blend mode to change it to something where we're getting a little bit more. Yeah. And we're going to go ahead and group that. And we'll center that on our object just to make sure everything's good. Okay. And when you're working with a pattern like this, you can either punch it out early, or if you'd like, you can go ahead and take your basic shape here and cut it out, or just change it to the background color. So you can kind of get an idea of how it actually looks like on top of your object. So if I go ahead and change that to white, you can start getting a better idea of how that actually looks on that. Just probably a little bit too tight, so I'm going to go ahead and make one more adjustment on those real quick. That looks better. So we got our basic pattern there. So in order to grab that object, we're going to go ahead and create a shape there on top using the same cutout we already created. So we can actually take one of these lines here. So I'm going to move this to the side just so it's easier to work with for a moment. And we can create and take one of these lines here. And we're going to duplicate this line. And we're going to add to it. And so what we're doing now basically is we're just creating a solid object so we can go ahead and create that top part of our microphone. So I'm going to take these two objects and I'm actually going to use the Pathfinder tool to punch that object out. Oops. There we go. So let's go back real quick. So before I punch it out, we want to duplicate the object in the back. And then punch it out. So you can't see it, but I got my object here. But let's do one more thing before we do that. All right, so we want to line it with this top line here. There we go. And at any time, you can double click on any portion of the objects to kind of highlight them and work with them individually. So again, I'm going to duplicate this object in the back, add to my front, select our new object here, and we're going to punch that out. And then we're going to go ahead and delete that top part. And so we should have, in theory, the top portion right there. Yep. We can bring our object back in we created earlier, put that right on top. And we're going to select both objects. And again, I'm going to delete. Actually, what we'll do here. Since we can just recenter this object, we'll pull it over and center on this object here. Let's expand these lines real quick. And all that doing is turning from a stroke into an actual object. And we can merge those objects together and do one big cutout here altogether. Now we're doing highlighting that front, deleting, and now we have our cutout in our background there, and we can actually turn this top part to white and then recenter my object. Over our microphone, we got our top part now cut out there and ready to go. So it's starting to look like an actual mic here. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and highlight everything here. We're going to go ahead and group that object. And then, like I said, I'm going to just kind of make some minor adjustments to make it a little bit longer here. And like I said, I want it to actually be 3D, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this. And when you are turning anything on your actual design, it's good to keep it to a specific rotation, so in case you need to rotate any other objects in your design. So I'm going to keep mine around 10 degrees right now and hit OK. So now we have our base there, and I'm going to go ahead and add my buttons first here. So usually there's one bigger button and one smaller one, but we'll go ahead and make one and then resize that for the second button. So I want this to kind of look 3D, so the easiest way to do that is to actually duplicate your object here, and you want this portion to be on top here, so we're going to move that to the top. And I usually suggest making this just a little bit bigger so you can get a better idea how this actually is going to look like. Here is, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and we're going to punch that object out just like that. So, but we're going to, before we do that, we're going to duplicate our front object here like we did before. So we're going to copy that and paste that to the front. So that's Command C, Command F, if you're wondering, and punch that object out. And then we're going to move it over just a little bit so you can get an idea how that's actually looking like. And we're going to increase the size a little bit here, so we should have kind of a 3D looking effect here with this button. I'd say that's probably still a little bit too thick there, so we're going to go ahead and redo that so we can just get that sliver look like it has that 3D object onto it. So like I said, you can always turn your color to the background color, and it kind of gives you a better visual reference of what you're actually lining up here. And so we add that white on top there. There we go. That looks more like a 3D button to me. Same thing, select here, here, and then punch out the back. And then we're going to move this guy over just a smidge. And you can also do this by simply adding a stroke to this inner object as well, but I wanted to make the object a little bit bigger anyway. So there we go. We got a little button there. And then we're going to combine those objects and pull them on here. And before I do that, I want both these objects to be white. And I kind of see, and we're going to readjust the sizing on that. Like I said, usually when I see most of them, they usually have a little smaller button below, so we'll go ahead and make that as well. See Alex is part of our chat. Hey Alex, nice to meet you. Hope hope you're enjoying a little bit of a different setup we have today. So I'm going to move this over so we can see a little bit more. Kind of just doing a live review and kind of focusing on different niches. And so today we're focusing on podcasts and just how you kind of can go around creating design for these specific niches and for t-shirt designs so you can kind of launch your shop. So things like these design packs I'm creating right now will all, like I said, all be available for you to download as well. So you can go ahead and, if you like any of these designs, you can grab them afterwards. So you can go ahead and start your own t-shirt shop with some free designs. So that's pretty cool. And I'm going to ungroup this one object. So I want that line in between these two things to be a little bit more visible. So I'm going to go ahead and bump these over a little bit. And we're going to make them a little bit longer. I'm actually going to pull this guy in a little bit to give more of that 3D look, like I said. So we're going with more of an oval shape. Yeah, it's looking a lot better. I'm going to go ahead and just, rather than recreating that, I will go ahead and remove this bottom button here and just copy that on down. So generally too, when you're aligning on something like this, if you want to kind of keep it with the theme of your object, you can always just create a line. Draw the line down at whatever thickness you want to work with. And then we're going to go ahead and just do that same transformation we did before. We're actually going to rotate that object by the same amount we did. And so that, in this case, we're going to expand that object. And then rotate that. And so we can kind of use this as a nice little guide to kind of line our objects on our page. So it's kind of keeping that same flow. Now I'm working kind of quick right now, but if you ever happen to do this, you can always create layers, lock to certain objects, do whatever you want to do as you're actually going through the different layout here. So like I said, ultimately it's what looks good too, so use your eyes as well, just to kind of, like I said, this is just kind of a guide over here to get the alignment as well. The microphone's looking a little short to me, so we're going to go ahead and see. This is where the advantage would be. If I want to make a quick adjustment to this, I can either readjust the bounding box, or I can go ahead and transform this object back. So that's perfectly perpendicular again, and quickly make really small adjustments, like making that mic go up and down. And if you wanted to just adjust the bottom, you can just grab these 2 points here and grab them down as well. Just aside. There we go. It's looking better. And again, just go to add that rotation back to your object. So my initial lines are getting a little funky there, so we're going to go and expand those before we go any further, so we're not getting that distortion when we rotate our object. So if you go to Object, Expand, we can go ahead and change those pathways into actual solid objects. So now when we make the rotation back, they shouldn't change at all. That's looking good. I'm going to start working on the buttons that go on the side here, or the knobs, to actually make the adjustments for the stand. The simplest way to do that is just to create 2 circles. So we want to get our sizing right now. 2 little ovals here. Line those up about where the stand would hold it. We're going to duplicate that on both sides here. And all we're doing here is dragging that object over. And on this one, I would suggest simply all we need to do is go ahead and change this to a quick outline. And we're going to go ahead and remove the top and bottom anchors here by separating them with the cut path tool. And once we do that, we can actually just delete those 2 objects. And then we're going to go back to our pen tool and simply drag over that corner there. And same thing here below. And you should start to kind of see how this kind of looks here. So we got our button back there. And I'm going to go ahead and add some a bigger stroke to that outline. Whoa, too big. Let's go with looks pretty good. Bump that over. All right, so we got our button behind our object there, and so we're going to create the same, something similar to the other side here, but you're going to see more of the circular object here. So again, we're going ahead and create 2 circles. And when you're copying an image, you can go ahead and just hold Option if you're working on a Mac. It'll automatically copy that image over for you. So just like that. So in this case, kind of do it backwards, where we're going to actually drag the object back over. So this object will be the one on top. So same thing, click these top 2 points. We're going to cut those 2 paths, delete them, go back to my pen tool, and drag this over. And this will be in outlines as well in just a moment. So there's our button on the other side. And the only finishing touch we're going to do is we're going to add in some lines here to make it look more like a dial. And we can start with those on the other side as well. We have, there's where we're at right now, so you can kind of see how quickly some of these things can come together. I'm going to bump this guy over a little bit. Before I go any further, I'm going to make this background white. And so you can do that a few ways. We can combine this object to make it one solid object, or we can go over and use our fill tool here and fill that space in. Add that object, make sure we're adding the object to the very front. And again, you can either use that by using your command keys, or you can simply select, right click on it and add to the, change your object's arrangement by bringing it straight to the front. And you guys have any questions as I kind of work through this, feel free to ask. I'm trying to check the chat as I go here. So I'm going to just combine everything, keep everything together. And I'm going to go ahead and combine everything again over here. And again, to make things a little bit simpler, I'm going to go ahead and just expand everything now before we make any more adjustments. And you can merge those objects together as well. Oh, we lost them. Keep leaving something behind. It's starting to look like a mic here a little bit, so since this is more in the foreground, I'm going to increase the size a little bit more. There we go. And now I'm just grouping objects so that can be easier to work with going forward. There we go. Before I go any further, I'm going to add a little highlight just to kind of get that look in there. And so very similar, I'm going to add an object here. We're going to go ahead and rotate that. So this is right in the forefront where the light's going to be hitting that mic. Okay. Just cleaning everything up right now before I go any further. Okay, now we're going to start with our stand. And another good thing you can do is take these objects. So I want to cut these objects out, and the easiest way to do that a lot of time is by using your minus front tool, and that works sometimes. But if you ever used Illustrator before, you know that can be a struggle. So sometimes it's easy to use merge, just depending on what you're trying to do. So I'll go ahead and group those objects real quick. We're going to go ahead and copy this background again to the front, and we'll try the minus the front here, and it kind of worked. So we can wait on that. So you can wait till you're done, and then merge all your objects and do the same exact thing. So now I'm just starting to create the stand. want to do in this. I want to keep the bottom of this flat, so I want to add a little curve on the inside here. So and I'm going to curve the outside just a bit. So I almost got a stand. All right, so we're going to pull that up, make it fit in there better. Then we're going to add a block below that, just for the stand. Start making more of the base here. So what we're trying to do is just adjust the thickness of this line so that it looks like it's more like it's fading into the background here a little bit. And the easiest way to do that is usually to clip the anchor point. And then we should go to So as I did before, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this, give us the last little 3D object that we want to get here. So we're going to go ahead and trim both these points on the end. And turn that. And then we're going to grab a pen tool again, grab this point. So then we can adjust the thickness of this line afterwards if we want, or we can have it go and make the same kind of sweep that the other one did. I think I'm going to go ahead and align that manually, just make it match a little bit nicer. So I'm going to just expand that line real quick. And then we're going to take our point over here. Make some minute adjustments over here. Looks pretty good. So got our basic mic set up. And a lot of times, usually when you get to a point like this, usually it's good to copy your design, just because if you make any issues from here on out, make any mistakes, you simply go back to your last iteration right here. All right, well, I got some basic ideas what I can do with this mic. we're just doing some basic cleanup real quick before we go any further. So we're just moving some artifacts from this design over here. So there we go. So the design should be pretty clean now. So same thing, I'm going to just copy it over, shrink it down. I think we're going to go with like a circular outline around the design. So let's go ahead and grab a circle, change to an outline. All right, we got our base design there. Let's get you centered up. So we're gonna start adding some text, some different objects here as well, just kind of give you that classic feel. So what I'm gonna do is create classic kind of lightning bolts here. These look better in just a second. Change those to outlines real quick. kind of getting the look we were going for now. We can go ahead and flip that back around. And what we're going to do is turn that. Up and down. We're going to go ahead and form, and we're going to reflect that horizontally. And we're going to create a copy. Drag that copy to the top. We're going to shrink these down just a little bit. And then what you do is you can group them and then rotate them. If you hold shift, you can get exactly 45 degrees. And you can start to get an idea what we're trying to go for here. So before we do that, let's go ahead and just line them up here. Now we're just adjusting some of the spacing. And we can play around with some of those individually to give them a different look. So ungroup them. So we can start to get the exact angles we want in shapes. I think I actually liked the look originally. All right, so now we're gonna add some text. Let's shrink these guys down so we can get in here a little bit more. And an easy way to create a cutout and around this dark line here is to actually take your center object here, copy to the back. We're gonna go ahead and add a stroke to that. You want to go over to stroke options. You want to make sure to smooth out your cap in your corner. And then we're going to go ahead and turn off the inside of that stroke. Turn it to white. Bring out object to the front. There we go. And you can kind of get the idea of how the cutout actually looks like there. design, shrink it down again. And we're gonna bring some text in. I usually do like to start with some basic fonts that I know I want to kind of work with. So I have some of those right over here. And we're gonna keep it similar here. So we got podcast there. And so we're gonna go up to effect, we're gonna warp, and we're going to, I think, probably look best actually. Let's go. I think I want to keep the top the same. So we're going to go ahead and invert that bottom part of the text here. And then usually you want to avoid adjusting your text too much, stretching it, but in this case I think it's going to maintain. If we go ahead and make some adjustments so that text is a little bit easier to see. Like that. And finally, we're going to expand this, and I kind of want to do one little other frail here is kind of drag the text down here, but I want to keep that angle, so. So we're going to start as high as we can to kind of keep that look and feel. And just make sure they line up. And I think that's about it, guys. The only other thing I'm going to do is I will add the similar distress look to this inner part of this microphone to kind of give it all the same look and feel, and then we'll export it here. So give me a second here to do that real quick. So before you merge a larger object, it's better to clean up your object as much as you can, because you can kind of overwhelm your computer a little bit. So now we just need to get rid of those parts. So this is just basic cleanup right now. Just get rid of all the particles and parts of the design we don't want. There you go, guys. That's pretty much the final throw out there. We can make a few more adjustments here and there, but these will be for free, like I said. So you can download them here shortly. We'll actually have them on a website for you to download along with this video, and any other questions you have, feel free to ask at any time, and we'll make sure to jump in and help you guys out. But hope you had fun watching some of that design layout today, some of the issues and some things like that you run into when you're creating design, but overall it's just about playing around and having fun and coming up with something kind of unique. So hope you liked it, and like I said, it'll be free to download if you'd like it. We'll have a bunch more coming for you here shortly. Thanks, guys.